Thanks, everybody. I know one topic before we get into some of the topics from the new members is that there's going to be a survey coming out to the communicators at different parishes. So Nicole, would you like to talk a little bit about that to start out?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a survey that was the brainchild of Julie Craven. So thank you, Julie. We just really thought we had this amazing moment and with so many challenges, you know, with the COVID situation, but we had a lot of people make some really great leaps in communications at the same time. And so she just had this thought, why can't we capture that? Why don't we look at kind of what we've done, you know, with our communications, what we've seen. Lots of people talked about how like Facebook has gone up there, and then their you know, their live streaming audience has been really incredible, and you know, we just really wanted to capture that. And the thought was we'd be able to keep it kind of just as a reference, just as a communications team. It would be offered by this group and the Archdiocese collectively, so we could see kind of where parishes are at now compared to where they were, and maybe some challenges that still exist. We also talked about addressing it in the Catholic spirit, because I think the greater Catholic population as a whole, they might be wondering like, oh, wow, you know, my parish offered live streaming, but I never really knew what led up to that, right? So it takes about 15 minutes, maybe a little longer, but right around 15-minute mark. And what we're going to do is we'll share it right now. I'll put it in the link in the chat box here. But the other thing is that we're going to put it in Archdiocesan Update and also send out a direct email to all pastors, parochial administrators, and business administrators. And we're requesting that the person most responsible for communications at each location will respond. You know, you guys are the ones who know the most about what it's taken to communicate during this time and what else is needed. So we do emphasize that in our introduction letter. I think the goal is we, you know, send it out now and maybe another reminder in a couple weeks in Arch Update, hopefully wrap it up by August, and then maybe just really get some good feelers out there for how people responded by our September meeting. So that's that. I am going to go ahead now. I'll put the link in our chat box. Funny thing, so I did it on SurveyMonkey, and I tried to find different short links. COVID comms was already taken. Other variations were already taken. Like, oh, we're maybe not quite as unique as we thought we were, but yes, I still think it'll be great to capture in our unique situation what has happened. So Julie, anything I missed there? Anything you wanted to add on?
Oh, great recap, Nikki. And Nikki, you know, I put some questions and thoughts like, wouldn't it be cool if we knew this together? Nikki really polished it, and Amanda, Melissa, Brittany, Megan took a look at it and just gave it a test run. But sometimes when you have to move fast and change things, you don't even realize how different things are than they were before. And I was scrolling through Facebook the other day and seeing, oh my gosh, events and live streams. And you know, I just heard from May, she's not with us because they have a funeral at Basilica. I'm sure they didn't have live stream funerals at Basilica last year. So sort of like the coverage you've seen where they can see the bottom of the canals in Venice now, because there was this huge thing that happened and things changed, kind of capturing a before and after. So what we'd like folks to do is like, think about what you were doing the 1st of March, and then think about now. And is your Facebook different? Are you live streaming now? Did you change the frequency? Did you stop anything? I think it's going to be super revealing. It will likely be, you know, get some coverage in Catholic spirit and beyond that. But I think the real learning there is, before we all forget and just kind of get used to this new normal, we've at least know at our parish, and our Sarah Moon has been huge in helping us with this. We've upped our game on everything from video to how we're handling social media. Our constant contact is different. See what's there and see what we've learned, and then we'll kind of take that and go forward. So appreciate everybody participating. It'll go to parish administrators, pastors. We want to make sure that it does go to the person responsible for the communications. So we'll be working with the Facebook page and other avenues to make sure we get the word out. We'd like a really great response rate.
Can I just say one thing? When I got it yesterday, I did it right away, or I started to, and I was working on it, and I got to the point, kind of, I think towards the middle, questions about giving and stewardship, and I had to actually shut down and quit out of it because I don't know the answers to that, and our financial manager is on vacation this week. So is there a way to like see in advance all the questions so that I'm prepared to go in? And because I don't think there's a way, I didn't see a way to save.
Yeah, I don't know if that's well, that's a really good point. Thank you. I can see if SurveyMonkey does, but you're right. Since there's not an account that you have to make, there's probably not a save option. You might be able to just leave the browser up, but otherwise, you know what I could do? I could add a little description at the top that says it encompasses print, online, and stewardship questions related to communications. And then that way, if there's one of those areas maybe that people aren't sure about, then they could hold off on filling out. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that'd be helpful because I had to cancel out and I'll have to wait till she comes back next week. So I lost anything I did.
Good point.
Yeah.
And we knew from the beginning that this was going to have the potential for a lot of project creep, because when Nikki and Maria and Tom and I visited about it, already the wheels were turning and folks were saying, oh, Family Life would love to know this or this or this. So we tried to contain it as much as we could around communications, but the things that really are drivers, where communication is the driver, stewardship's a great example. They are in there. So excellent point, Melissa, because we're looking for anything that might make it a little bit more of a challenge to complete, because we want a lot of good participation.
Would there be a way to split it into 3 parts? That way, in case someone else has a different role, like with stewardship, that they could just fill out that section of the survey?
Well, it's only 2 questions.
Oh,
so I don't know in that case that it would be worth it. I'd say probably it's, I don't know, just guessing on percentages, like 80% communications. There's a couple on stewardship and then a couple bigger overall ones. And primarily the question on stewardship was the online giving component. So it was just kind of the fact that it was an added technology in. So yeah, I mean, I could definitely see that would make sense, but hopefully there's enough that it mostly falls into the communications court. The other thing was that even though we want the communicators to fill it out, we wanted to make sure the pastors and business administrators knew about it. One thing that helps let them know about this group, which is very helpful. And then also, I don't know, I think it's kind of nice. We asked them to do a lot. And this time we're saying, we value these people on your team. We want to hear from them, not necessarily you filling everything out. So no offense, Dean, it's just as cool to, to get that perspective, I think.
Could you
I'm happy to have Patty fill this out. I do have a question, and I should know this, and I don't. When does the survey end?
Well, I think I was talking about maybe the end of August, if that gives it enough time. I mean, you want to be, you don't want to give too much time, but I want at least 2 weeks because I figured, well, Tom is out until Thursday, and I think he'd be the one to send it out via email to the pastors and business administrators. So like I would put it in Arch Update, but a specific ask would not go from me. So I want to kind of at least give it 2 weeks from when they get that email.
So I can promote it on our Archdiocese APBA Zooms on August 13th and August 27th.
Yes, please. That would be great.
If you want it to close like on August 28th, since it's, or whatever you choose, then I can coordinate that with you. Okay.
Yeah, I think like last Friday of the month or something like that. Yeah, probably. I think that would make a lot of sense. I mean, I don't think that's too long to have the survey open unless anyone thinks it has to be like a strict 2 weeks or something, but especially during summer, I'd like to have some flexibility.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
I have a quick question. Has anybody surveyed their communities to see how they feel about the communications you've done over the past 6 months?
No.
We're considering that. I'm just curious to know if any of you have done that.
Keep us posted. That would be very interesting.
We actually talked about how that would be good to kind of, hear from parishioners even like after this too, because part of it is, we're trying to figure out how effective it is, but all we can do is look at our numbers. We can't really, and who showed up to Mass, but we can't really tell like, oh, I watched your video reflections every day and it personally affected me in this way, or things like that.
Okay, does anyone else have questions about the survey before we move on?
Would results be available to us as a group?
Yes.
Yeah, well, I think, yeah, co-partners in this, then yeah, I would probably do whatever Survey Monkey is able to export. They have different ways of doing charts and everything. So I think I'll just try to see what makes the most sense and then share it hopefully at the September meeting. And then, yeah, and then the general public would kind of hear about it through the Catholic Spirit. But yeah, you guys would get all the same data we get. Mm-hmm.
It's some great benchmarking too for the related project with the communications consulting. So when we go out to talk to parishes, you know, we can say, well, listen, this is what parishes your size are doing, or you might want to think about this, or so it ties together nicely with some of the other work that we've got going forward.
Right, and we haven't actually like officially launched the consultations yet. Like there are 4 that we sent the form to, and I haven't received any back yet. So people are probably still considering it, but they were the ones that really expressed interest in the concept. And to what Julie mentioned, I think we'll kind of get a good feeling of where people were at after this and then see, okay, when is a good time to really more broadly offer that? And do we want to make more specific asks? Like, is there anything we want to put behind it? If we can find someone who can, you know, help support the communications efforts, things like that. So, yeah, I'm excited about that too, but I am I think this is the more immediate thing, you know? I mean, if there was someone who immediately needed the consultation, I'm sure they would have, you know, filled out the form, you know, right away, and we can still move on that. But yeah, I think it'll give us a great feeling for the field and get them to start thinking about communications, which will also help kind of ready that ground for when we want to say, hey, by the way, can we help? You know, it'll help prepare them for that.
Nicole or Julie, could you talk kind of just an intro of the consultation thing? I know many of us were in the group when that topic was brought up initially, but there may be some new people who aren't quite sure what the consultation group would be.
Yeah, sure. I think the idea was just that basically we have a lot of expertise in this group, and there's people who are just across the board in communications and their experience. And even those who have a lot of experience, it's always helpful to have kind of an outside perspective. So the thought was that we'd offer a consultation. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead. I'll put that link in this chat as well for anyone who might be interested in filling it out. Open to any parish. Just having a core group of folks review your communications, answer just a few questions on kind of what you're doing. And we'll just kind of just weigh in like, well, we're, you know, on your social media, on your website, you know, just here's kind of what we're thinking could be helpful. We wanted to be really careful initially not to promise too much, because someone in kind of our little working group on that mentioned, you know, how much is really going to be possible, you know, in our spare time for free to try to get people's communications to a different level. Can we do a full branding thing? You know, I think that there's, that was a really good point. So right now we're like, well, no promises, but you'll get some peers looking at your work and giving you some tips that hopefully you can move forward with. And if we can help connect you with resources, then we'll do our best to do that too. So I have to do a little more digging to find the link itself, but that's kind of the concept. And I mean, the people who are on the working group have experience with graphics, web design, overall communications, you know, especially Amanda, you know, working with St. Joachim and Anne, you know, the school and the multiple campuses, you know, some good, rich communications experience from that standpoint. And then again, other people who are trained as graphic designers in the web. So it's a good range for folks who are just, you know, you just might be looking at your communications and like, well, you know, we're doing some great stuff, but I'd really love to hear what someone else in communications thinks and what they would do. And again, just a kind of a more formalized way of sharing best practices like we generally do in this group. I think, Julie, anything else to add? I know because you've been in those meetings too, or Amanda as well.
Yep, Nikki covered it beautifully.
Perfect. Okay, so I think we can dive into some of the new member questions, unless Melissa or does anyone else have any housekeeping things before we start on some questions?
No, I just wanted to, at the end, whoever wants to stick around, I'll just go over FlackNote just a little bit, but we'll do that at the end.
Sure. So I think the easiest thing, since I know that we have a lot of people in this group participating with a lot of experience in these topics and opinions that may want to jump in, If you want to say something when I read off the question, could you unmute yourself, and then we'll just kind of go through anybody who wants to talk before we jump to the next one. And I'll know that you have something to say if you unmute yourself. The first one is, how often do you recommend posting on Facebook? Do you recommend Instagram and Twitter? And what kind of content is best received and viewed? Patty?
All right, that was a lot of questions. So, we do Twitter, and that is only fed through when we do Flock Note. So we do an automatic, whenever we do Flock Note, we can link that to Twitter, and it just automatically goes out that way. We do Facebook, and that has increased. We used to do it probably 1 or 2 times, maybe a week, and now we are doing it 1 or 2 times a day. Working with Catholic Social Media, that was one of their biggest suggestions, is that, you know, based on opposite belief, that we thought it was more Twitter and Instagram and, you know, those things that were taking off, but they said Facebook is a really, really good platform. A lot of people have it. And yet we have an intern, and she said what she's learning at St. Thomas is that Instagram is the best route. So, you know, I suppose it depends on who you're talking to, but we are getting that type of information out there. The type of information, I highly recommend that it's personal and it's true to the church, which means the Catholic Social Media, if anybody's not familiar with that, they have, I don't want to say canned Facebook posts, but they have them pre-made for us, which is really, really nice. And some of them have videos and things like that in them. And then they send them out once a week, and it's a week in advance, so we can take that information and post it. You know, it was okay received. We no longer do that service. But the things that really raised numbers and of views were, we took a shot of Father at the altar, or we took a shot of a statue in the courtyard, or you know, anything like that. A picture of the Zoom meeting that our youth ministry was in. Those types of things are big, and those numbers probably double when we do that. So I'm very cautious on what we put out there, but we also want to evangelize, put out educational stuff like the saint of the day is, and this is a little bit of history about that person. So that's kind of the you know, our take on it at St. Joseph's Catholic Community in New Hope and in Plymouth.
Thanks, Patty.
Yep.
Michelle? We can't hear you, Michelle. I'm not sure. Or can everybody hear me here except me? I can't hear you.
Okay. Yeah.
There we go.
Good now?
Yes.
Okay. So I have somebody helping me this summer, Emily, which is awesome, for 8 hours a week. She loves social media, good at graphics. And she is doing on our Facebook page and Instagram some different categories like positive thoughts. So she puts out positive thoughts every couple days. And then a stay connected kind of category where she's taking pictures all around the church and putting a caption this or some words that go with that as well. And of course we do different saints and other events that are going on in the church as well. But for Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, they kind of have a different format for each, right? So Facebook, you can put a lot more out there in words, videos, pictures, etc., events. Where Instagram is really, and Emily really likes to say this, is really about pictures, great graphics more than anything. Although I see a lot of people posting whole stories out there on Instagram, Emily's idea is Instagram really should be about beautiful pictures and sharing through that. Emily would like to get rid of our Twitter account, and I told her I'm not ready to do that yet because we have a long-standing group of followers, and I don't want to lose them by just turning it off. And we're still advertising it in things that we have just published for the next year. So if we wanted to turn that off, we're just kind of watching it for now and seeing what we get with that. We don't get a ton of likes, but I don't know that on Twitter, but I don't know that that's always representative of what the people are actually doing. I don't know if you guys have a different opinion of that. But even on Facebook, Kelly, who's our administrative support person and about 28 years old, said that she tends on Facebook to look through it, but she won't like things. She won't respond to them, but she'll just look through them. So it's hard to tell how many people are really seeing. Kind of like advertising, you have to guess that they see it 5 times, they've seen it, right?
Yeah. Actually, Michelle, it's funny you mentioned that. I was just on Twitter because we were posting a happy birthday post for Bishop Cousins yesterday, and it was so we had like a little kind of toddler picture of him with his official picture, and obviously we got some more responses there, but I hadn't really dug into enough to look at the statistics on it. But I mean, you're right. We had maybe a couple dozen likes, a couple comments, including USCCB. So we're like, awesome. But then I checked on the actual stats, and almost 5,000 people saw it, even though we only had a handful of people who had liked it or retweeted it. So yeah, I would definitely, look at the stats on that. I don't know. It's hard. It's some people, like you said, they use it differently. They might use it just updates, not necessarily to engage. And so you have to say, what's the benefit of that in our investment of our own time? Is it still worth it? But I don't know, it's kind of like an influencing type of thing. I feel like it would probably still be worth it, but you'd have to, look at your own situation.
I agree.
Perfect. Sarah, did you have something to add?
I do. I tried to create a pretty strong social media strategy on both of our facets, on the church and the school. So I like to post 2 times per day on each Facebook. So at staggering times that I discerned, or not discerned, I figured out what are good times for our particular audience. And so I try to hit those, and they're different for the parish viewers than the school viewers. So I've tried to do that. So twice per day, for sure, Monday through Friday. Not always on the weekends, because we don't have as many people looking on the weekends. I don't know about you, but our stats say that it's highest and peaks around Thursday. And actually one of the highest times people watch or check in on Facebook is around noon for us. I think that's fascinating because it is a lot of still working people too, but maybe people checking in around lunch. So I try to play a lot of my social media around that, keeping that in mind so it gets a lot of views. I find the best thing viewed on Facebook is video, and people are going more and more to video, and I'm talking 30-second max videos. So 15 seconds is the sweet spot. It's really hard to get a nice, good, strong Catholic message in 15 seconds, but we can definitely do it. But those always get the most views and reshares. So we've been trying to really focus on that and make more good quality videos. Also, same as she said, the Instagram, we're revamping that. I've tried to really create a good, solid brand strategy with that, and we're continuing with that, but we're giving that a new look this summer. And I also have an intern we've really focused on that. And my strategy with that is to honor the grid. I really care about how the grid looks. I really care about its cohesiveness. I really care that when you look at it, that's St. John's and it still reflects our brand. And then any more mess. So we do an alternating strategy with that so that it looks great anytime you look at it. And it alternates with a great photo that's bold and bright, and then a curated graphic that has a quote or features the gospel or whatever it does in the messaging. But then we strongly use stories, at least 5 to 10 stories a day. And that can be unique content for us, or a lot of reshares with USCCB, or good quality content that we approve of and would want to be sharing that. So that's kind of our big turn this summer, is just really trying to utilize that in a positive way, but also in a stunning graphic way, like you said, because people are really drawn to that. Like if you think about Blessed is She, you're really drawn to that. It's beautiful and it's eye-catching. So we wanted to have that same impact on people too. Also with Instagram, I feel like that is a younger following. So we're curating that for, you know, a lot of our middle schoolers follow it. And I know that a lot of so it goes late middle school through young adult, early mid 40s, I'd say is the strongest group there. So we're really conscious of that and the kind of content that we're giving to that too. In Twitter, we have it, but it's kind of sidebar. It's in my head, like, I need to improve our Twitter, but you know, layers.
Thank you. And thank you everybody for sharing. I think it's also, maybe when Melissa posts the directory document on Flocknote, it might be, for anyone who's interested, good to go to the different Facebook pages of the people who are involved in this group and just kind of gain some best practices from following the different groups on their Facebook pages too, because I think there's some very well-run Facebook pages within our community here, and I know I get some really great ideas from following others. So just so everybody knows, I have to run out and take a picture at 9:30. So if I run out, Melissa can jump in and take over the discussion from there, but I'll go to the next one. Let's talk about,
Megan.
yes.
Amanda asked a question in the chat.
Oh,
is there
okay.
a ratio you follow for sharing custom content versus reshared content? I'll repeat it. Is there a ratio you follow for sharing custom content versus reshared content?
I think I have heard you're supposed to have about 50% organic and 50% curated. Is that about right? I've just started, like, over the summer. Because of the whole COVID, I realized that we need to really start concentrating on social media. So I actually added to my hours each week that I'm just working Fridays on social media. So I'm not sure if that's correct, but I think I just read that recently.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable, Melissa. I was going to kind of guess that, but though actually it kind of depends on what we have going on. Obviously on really busy days, it's all organic, right? And then sometimes if there's not so much going on and I see some great things, like it's a Saint Day and there's a USCCB holiday and there's other things. So probably, yeah, aiming for 50-50 is smart. Though I will say there are some very successful accounts that are probably 90% curated. You know, and not that I'm saying for us we should, because we have so much original rich content with our own churches. But I'd say, you know, don't hold yourself to a percentage, but, you know, don't, I guess, let the curated, which I can kind of do sometime if I'm running short on time, you know, don't substitute curated for organic content when you have really good stuff that you can share if you just take a little more time to pull that content together.
Mm-hmm.
And Libby made a comment that anything I share gets very little engagement. My original posts do much better.
I had a quick question for the group around social media. We have a really strong Facebook following, but for the life of me, I cannot get people to comment. Like when I pose a question, does anyone else run into that same issue where they like it, they're engaged, but to actually get the physical, you know, engagement with the comments? I've posed so many different questions, done it different ways, and no one comments.
I did a post that got a lot of engagement kind of early on in the COVID. So, you know, a lot of people were really watching at that point, but that typically is what happens with me. But this particular post, I actually just put a picture of like Pax Christi's exterior with our old like bell back in like the early 80s, mid 80s. And then I just posted the question, and actually I made the question part of the graphic. And I asked the question, what year did you join? And, you know, why did you come to Pax Christi? And that actually turned into a huge like feed. And then I had a couple of people actually say, thank you for asking questions like that, or thank you for engaging us. And I don't know, that one worked. But I think
That's a really good
another
idea.
post where I've gotten really good engagement is when I posted the pastor with his dog. So you just never know.
One of the things that I have done being in a school community is I actually did some education to our families through some of our weekly communications. And I just basically spelled out, you know, if you just view it, it's 0 points for us in spreading our message. If you like it, it's 2, you know, I gave them sort of the algorithm numbers and just said, look at the impact you can have if you just even like or comment or share. And I always see an uptick after I do that. So I kind of repeatedly do that, maybe quarterly. I've put it in some print materials. It's on the back of our most recent magazine. How can you support us and spread our message? So sometimes I think it's about education for our community. They want to help us, but they don't understand how it works. So that has actually been very helpful. And I send thank you notes out to top fans all the time saying, you know, you're making a huge difference. You're helping people just like you find our school. So I think that can be valuable. I've seen Cisco actually do some little contests and motivations to do it. So I think sometimes you have to proactively get the ball rolling a little bit, and then you'll see growth from that.
We are actually doing it's going to be done via Zoom, but we're doing like a communications 101 for our leadership at our first meeting in August. And one of the things we're covering is social media. And we're going to ask our leadership to, first of all, if they haven't started following us on social media, to do that. And then we're going to ask them to kind of, if it's something that speaks to them, to share it on their own personal page, because it's kind of like the new age door knocking, you know, when parishioners used to go door knocking to invite the neighbors. It's kind of like the new age version of that. So hopefully that'll work. I noticed a comment. Jen said she connected with faithengine.com and they suggest 30% created, so organic, 60% curated, and 10% promotional. And on that promotional, Ed Heil, who I've worked with quite a bit, he has his own marketing company and he's a parishioner. I've been trying to follow I'm going to start following his suggestion of if you have an event you want to promote, like do a teaser one day and then on another day do another teaser before you actually finally do the ask on a third post. So.
What I found with the curated was confusing to me. I don't know if that's confusing to everybody else, but it was something new to me. Just that you would, like you guys were talking about, the scripture, a quote, shareable wisdom, asking the fun, engaging question, sharing a blog article, an uplifting video, that kind of thing. It's similar to your created stuff, which would be like a clip. If I don't know if the Catholic Church, you could do that, a clip of the service, or like you said, a picture of the pastor from the front, or a kids ministry photo when we get back into that, or a quote from the homily, or anything like that. A baptism photo, anything that's the created part. The thing that I thought was interesting with promotional is he said, this little seminar I watched was 10% promotional only, because like if you have a friend that always talks about themselves and they never talk about you or anything else, you distance yourself from that. So if you're always advertising and doing the ask, they'll stop following.
I think the ask and promotional is actually really good in the stories and Instagram. Because you can get through them. You don't have to stay there and watch them. I think it's a good spot to be like, and then it's a nice spot to use a poll to say, are you going to come? Do you think this looks great for you? And that gets that good engagement. We get a lot of good engagement that way. So we really kind of stick that promotional in the Instagram stories, and otherwise as a Facebook event. I really like to use it as a Facebook event to really push it that way. But Brittany, to answer your question about engagement, I think it's so frustrating because you have these really great posts that you think are going to get like totally awesome and go, and it's always the ones I don't think are going to, always. So same for us. But I do find that when the most comments come when they're submitting pictures of themselves or their kids doing something that we've set them out to do. So for instance, it's the week of virtual VBS, and already the pictures and the postings are coming in on that VBS stuff because they want to share about themselves. They really do. But I find that adults feel better sharing of their kids more so than they maybe share of their heart or of themselves. So I think that's pretty fascinating too. So getting the kids involved has been really big. And show us your kids and how they're praying at home. Show us family, show us your family doing a rosary. I think they want to share those things of themselves, but I find they share more when it's a photo for some reason.
I've also done something kind of tricky where it says like something about, it's a beautiful day, what are you going to do today? Or it was a wonderful weekend, what did you do? And so then I told my daughter and my husband and everybody else, I go, please post something. And I went over and I posted something, and that it triggered other people to do things. So I made a pannekuchen, and I took a picture of the pannekuchen and I put it out there. And then the next thing somebody, put a picture of a book out there. They read a good book. So, sometimes you gotta play the game to at least trigger people to go, oh yeah, it's okay to post something. And, oh, that's what they're looking for. So just an idea.
That's good. I wondered if people just didn't want to be the first to post.
Yeah, I know a couple. Melissa, do you have a social media team, or somebody on this group has had a social media team that their job is to like and share posts? Does somebody have that in this group?
Yeah, that's what we had talked about, kind of our leadership, having them be our kind of, social media team where they post on their own personal pages. And that's yet to be seen. We'll see. I'll let you know when that starts to happen.
I think that's a good idea. I've been thinking about it.
Yeah, we had talked about having like a call to some, even young adults who are really active on social media to try to be our champions, to reshare. But we haven't done that quite yet.
If you haven't done this one, you have to do it because it's really fun, and it's asking for the best Catholic memes or what's getting you through COVID, because it's hilarious and everyone has a meme and they can drop them in there. And so when we did that, and then I randomly pulled a winner and sent them a Starbucks card and thanked them for playing along. So that's a really fun one. Got a lot of engagement.
Okay, I think unless anyone has more to say about social media, I forgot that Megan dropped off, so I'm going to keep us going here. Let's see. This question says, also wondering what resources are available to us to keep the call of the new evangelization front of mind. Could our group share a subscription to Bishop Barron's Word on Fire resources or anything similar? I don't know that that's possible. Does anyone subscribe to the Bishop Barron resource? I did a trial and we liked it. We just didn't use it. We used it for Lent, I believe, a year ago. And unfortunately, I unsubscribed, and I cannot get them to stop sending me emails. And they send very, very, I swear I get one probably 3 times a week. And I have sent a stop to every single email that I can find at that organization, and I still get them. So I'm not sure who asked that question. So if anyone has more, or whoever
I
has.
don't know if you can share. They're not really built for a model across organizations. So what I would say would be helpful is there are different times, like you can partner with other organizations, like Flocknote kind of partners with Bishop Barron to do things via email. So that's like, one thing you could do to try to, do some content. You can also really, encourage your parishioners to take advantage of the things that are already out there. Like I know with my parish app, they have different buttons that are built into the app itself that have inspirational articles, videos, news, things like that. And, you know, and that's something that you could offer just in one service as a parish. Formed, obviously there's a lot of places that use Formed right now. I guess, you know, I wonder if those are kind of some great ways, especially during this time, rather than trying to go all in with like a single, I mean, maybe you could still do a single study, but I really like the diversity of those resources. And even like Relevant Radio, they have like free reflections you can do. USCCB does. You know, lots of places offer that without having to buy like an expensive subscription. So, you know, I'd say like look at the budget for what you have. Look at, you know, the resources, like I said, the app, some of the other email resources out there, and nothing else, point people to the free content they can already sign up for.
I have a posting, when we went into the stay-at-home shutdown, we created this page called Keeping the Faith, and I've posted free resources, and I do have some on there. I can put it in the chat. There are the Minute Meditations by Richard Rohr, the Give Us This Day digital edition. Father James Martin has some, I believe, a daily reflection, that kind of thing. So I've got a few free ones posted there. I'll just put that down in the chat right now.
Yeah, we have the Archdiocesan one too. Yeah.
I just wanted to chime in a bit. It is important. There's lots of resources, but you can't like outsource what you're doing to someone else and then feel like your parish isn't, you know, connected to them. Like I was very impressed, Melissa, and you probably had a lot to do with this, but your worship council sent out an invitation to something that Father Joncas is doing.
It's here.
Correct. And so, but it was your worship council was introducing it, but you're hosting it and you're coordinating it and you are tailoring it with the resources of Vicki Klima and Father Joncas. That's a good model, as opposed to do not do here's the website, see us when the COVID's over. That's not a good model, and that's not going to serve you well long term. But what you were doing is wonderful, and I love the fact that you had parishioners videos saying, you know, introducing it. That was very nicely done.
Yeah, that's actually a retreat in September that Father Joncas and Vicki will be here for. They are going to lead the morning introductory idea of, I can't even think of the theme right now.
It's on liturgy, is it not?
It's about, hold on. It is, I don't know, I'll find it later. But anyway, we are actually integrating Zoom breakout sessions and live stream, and it is a lot to get your head around, but I'm hoping we have a good turnout. I'm trying to really push out the name of Joncas and Vicki to kind of get some following on that.
And I think the key to what you're doing is there's going to be some dialogue with parishioners, as opposed to if you just send somebody to a website, that's a monologue, and that's not as effective.
Right.
It can be helpful, but not as the only option. Okay. But no, well done. I'm curious to see how it works. I'm going to participate.
Great. Okay, we can move on. Here's another question. Someone is asking, and again, these are questions that came from our new members that have joined in the last 6 months. But this could be from anyone. This person is asking, I would love to have some group insight in how to fight the burnout that everyone is kind of feeling right now during the COVID. If anyone wants to address that, especially when we are trying to be of service to Jesus and his church. Anyone have some ideas for fighting the burnout? I have none.
I think one of the important things we've had to do across the board as staff people is just prioritize and really look at each task we're doing and asking ourselves, what is it adding? And in some ways, it's been a real blessing to go. We've been doing some exercises in futility that we just did because we've always done them. So I think it is about prioritizing what we believe matters. being realistic with expectations. You know, maybe your goal's twice on Facebook a day, but you know what? Maybe it's really awesome if you're getting one. And to be okay with that, to give ourselves and each other a lot of grace. And I think more than ever, I've actually watched my hours more than I ever have. At some point you have to go, I've put in a good day and it's time to close the laptop. And it's hard to do because there's always more work. You leave and you feel like, man, I didn't accomplish because I still have 10 tasks on my desk. So I think that's really why it's really important to prioritize and make sure you're putting things where they belong, and have conversations with people sometimes that are tough and say, you know, overall, in the bandwidth we have in our strategy, would you consider, you know, maybe doing this instead of this? And that's been helpful too, you know, and most people, they get it. But I think it is an opportunity to make sure that what you're doing because it fits your strategy, it fits your goals, and it's actually moving the needle a little bit. And there's always the fires, but I have found that to be more valuable.
I think one thing that's helped us is initially when we were sent home in March, it was literally 60-hour work weeks of just like, we felt like, you know, like we had to get this done like right away and by that weekend, and everyone was so stressed. And I think now we've all settled into the idea that, okay, this is gonna be around a while. We don't have to get it done by tomorrow. We can consider before we jump into something. I think that's really helped a lot. Anyone else have any ideas on that?
I think it has been a real, it's been crazy. I feel like I've been on full pedal to the metal for 2 years. Like, I know a lot of people feel like that. And then you don't think another shoe can drop, and then you make a bishop at your church and or everything goes upside down, or then COVID came. And so it's always feels like the next thing, like, okay, after this. So I think just knowing that it never stops, like it doesn't stop here and it shouldn't stop. So having that awareness, because I was always like, oh, after this, it will slow a bit and I can catch my breath. It doesn't really stop. And so becoming okay with that. But also, I think that, you know, another silver lining of COVID is truly being able to take a look at all the things we're doing and say, we can cut some of this and still deliver really great content. You know, this has been a really good opportunity for me to say, we don't need to do this bulletin like this or every week, or, you know, we've been doing this weekly bulletin, and then in the summer we take it to every other week. And I'm like, I think we can stick with this. And it's been a good opportunity for me to be like, let's grab this. And I still think we're serving our parishioners. I'm always going to keep that at the focus, but how can we change and be better? We've already now trained them to go online more and to access us in different vehicles. Let's harness that and cut out some of the fat that has just been a heavier workload when we're still getting the same amount. So I think you maybe analyzing the things you're doing and see where you can change will improve your workload too. It has made my summer, so the first summer I've breathed in a couple of years. My 2 cents.
On that same note, have any of you adopted some, I mean, I know we talked about this a little bit, but live stream, and is there anything that you have started or stopped doing that you're going to continue after this is all over? Like, I don't know, for example, like we stopped doing video announcements at Mass and we stopped doing the paper bulletin. And because our printer was in Michigan, they were not able to print our monthly magazine for 3 months. So we went to an interactive magazine for 3 months. And my thought is, it's been, I mean, people have really received it very well and love it because I've included videos and a lot more images. And so, you know, maybe we go away from the printed version or just get enough printed for the people that really want it delivered in that fashion in their mailbox, and then we go to the online virtual one instead. I don't know.
I agree. This lockdown has been a tremendous opportunity to get people to accept online content much more. We had quite a groundswell of resistance to online interactions before March, and after the lockdown, people were desperate for any kinds of connection. So we've opened up a lot more on the web, and people seem to be responding to it. I mean, because they've been forced to, they've recognized that, oh, okay, this is not so bad after all. I can do this. And so it's definitely noticed a shift in the way we deliver content.
I love how creative people have been, and this wasn't my idea at all, but a couple of our ministries, like Dean had mentioned, the worship council or the worship committee that's working on this retreat, they did like this promo video, and it was all of the committee on Zoom, and they just recorded it and sent it to me, and then I just have like shared that, you know, in a few places and posted it. And the same goes with our Justice Grants board. They're looking for members, and so they did like this promo video. It's just done through Zoom, and so like it was great because like I didn't have to have people come in here in the studio and create a video. All I had to do was take their video and, you know, I cut it shorter on each end, but shared it. And so it's great how creative people are being, and I think our audience is getting really used to video and love that. So I think that's super helpful, and it takes a lot of time off of what I have to do.
The other change that we found is that because we've needed more online content, we have people who have expertise in video and sound mixing and so on have suddenly come forward and said, oh, I can help with this and I can help with that. So we've got a lot more people that had not been particularly involved in the parish suddenly showing up and saying, I can help. And so we've identified a lot of people that way, which has been very encouraging.
Kind of a related question. I was curious about this. So when people are, you know, so many people have done videos from home, like their own personal Zooms and things like that. I'm kind of wondering, you know, we used to kind of be of the mindset of, you know, you go to interview someone and take a video of them, you know, so you have the high quality video, the high quality audio and things like that. As long as the audio and the video are decent, do you think it'll still be that same mix? Like when we can go see people more, people will still want to take their own or audio? Do you think it'll be more like, hey, can you send me a video response on this?
I think as people are getting used to Zoom and realize that they can just start their own, well, they have a free account, so they can start their own Zoom meeting and it's just them recording themselves and the audio is decent. I think people are realizing that how, you know, simple it can be. My problem that I'm running into is the parishioners are really struggling with how to get that video to me. And I've given them, I've got two options. There's they can do a Dropbox, and I send the link along with a YouTube video explaining how to do it. And I've done the Google Drive option with a link and a video explaining how to do it. And people still have problems with that. So kind of that's my only, and I would love insight if someone has a great way to send a video. Still struggling with that.
Melissa, those are the same two that we use too, so I know help for you.
All right, Megan, do you want to take back over? Do you want me to keep going here?
Feel free to keep going. I'm not sure where you're at, so.
Well, Okay, so actually this is something for our entire group. And whoever sent this in can jump in, but it says, I would love to have some fresh conversation and insights that aren't as heavily tied to the pandemic and life in the midst. As a young professional who hasn't even been out of college for 5 years, I would love some mentorship and encouragement from more veteran communicators. A list of books, articles, podcasts to follow, routines or habits, just general advice for communicating. I don't know who sent that, but I don't. Maybe you want to jump.
Melissa, you did that. I think it was last year's July magazine about different ways to communicate. If I recall, maybe it was 2 years ago, but you kind of broke out the different forms of communication. I think that would be a good tool for that person. And I know that I had a couple extra copies. So, and if you can flesh that out better than I just did, but if I recall, it was a July magazine where you kind of broke down the different forms of communication. And I thought it was very good. In fact, our intern, I just gave her a copy of it recently, and I know Patty and I have looked at it, but that might be a good tool for this person.
Okay, I can send that out to the group. It was actually on how we communicate at Pax Christi, and it was in the magazine for our parishioners so that they knew, you know, the different places they could follow us. But I'll send that. I've actually just pulled out those particular pages and put into a PDF, and we put that in our new member packets each month. So I will get that PDF and send that on.
Thank you.
You know, we could, if anyone has like Google Docs they want to share on like content calendars or schedules, style guides, that might be helpful for this person.
Well, and we also have that tools section in Facebook that they could browse through and kind of see some of the best practices and different things that other parishes have done.
Oh, right. So on our Facebook page, if hopefully everyone follows that, there is a tab for, I think it's documents tab or something. And if you go under that, there is a best practices document. You can get a little information there. I don't know if anyone has added to it. It's been a long time, I'm sure. So I can actually send that along with this. Does anyone have any like podcasts or video blogs you follow that are very, very helpful? Or what's your favorite? I know we get so many, I've started to unsubscribe because I get so many emails from all these different church communicators.
Yeah, I think, yeah, I probably would, to get them corrected, I'd have to kind of go through my emails. But yeah, just off the top of my head, the Church Marketers group with like Ryan Wakefield, he has a lot of stuff, good stuff. And 1230 Media has kind of been a little bit of a newer one, but they did a lot on podcasting, which I think was interesting. Yeah, there's Facebook groups on that too, where they can kind of, there's one other podcast that I end up listening to, I can't remember right now, Brian someone. Yeah, so this is why I need the emails for it. But yeah, there's a few resources out there, so I can kind of, I'm going to send that communication survey out in a Slack note afterwards. If I have some good resources, I'll put it in that same Slack note.
And a lot of people have shared those on our Facebook group, so you can go there and kind of scroll through and see what you can find. I've joined a lot of Facebook groups of church marketing or social media marketing, and they're pretty helpful. They share a lot of information. Anyone else? There's a question here, and I was saying to Megan earlier, I don't know the answer to this because I do not work with weddings at all. But someone asked the question, and I don't want to spend a ton of time on this because it really doesn't involve communication too much. But someone said, could we ask what each parish's wedding protocols are. Specifically, I'd like to hear what others are communicating regarding whether attendants have to wear masks while walking down the aisle, during pictures, when inside the building. We've also had questions about attendants walking down together. We are not allowing bridesmaids and groomsmen to walk down the aisle together because of 6 foot distance.
Melissa, I think you lost your audio. Or is it just me? Can everyone hear?
I can read it. Okay, so this is about wedding protocol. Specifically, I'd like to hear what others are communicating regarding whether attendants have to wear masks while walking down the aisle and during pictures while inside the building. We've also had questions about attendants walking down together. We are not allowing bridesmaids, groomsmen to walk down the aisle together because of the 6 foot distancing rule. However, we are making an exception for dad and bride and the presider, readers, bride and groom, since we figured they would be considered presenters. But it'd be nice to know that we're on the same page as other churches. So if anybody has some insights about what your church is doing and the protocols they're following for weddings, I don't really know what we're doing at St. Hubert. We honestly haven't had a wedding here in a really long time. So I'm not really sure what our protocols are here, so I can't give a whole lot of insight on this one.
We've been doing a few more weddings. It's very limited, but I don't have the details. So maybe we could send that email as an email out that we could forward to the people that actually do that job. Just a suggestion.
I just sent a link in the chat too. There's a Minnesota Events Coalition that started. It consists of a bunch of event planners in the Twin Cities, and they're, you know, truly event planners and catering folks really in the events industry, but they are really staying up to date on the latest guidelines and restrictions from the state. So my recommendation would be to check out their resources and direct the person in charge of weddings to those resources, because they are making sure that they're creating the best events possible under the given restrictions.
Thank you for sharing that. I'll make sure my person gets that.
The next topic. Can you hear me now? Okay, I do think I go in and out because of some recording I did. So Megan, maybe you want to, I'll let you take back over the next question. I think the last one on the page. And now you're muted.
Okay, sorry. Okay, the last one is about YouTube. I know a lot of us have been using YouTube a little bit more in our current scenario. So this person is wondering about, you know, how you've been using it, how you've been growing your subscribers, how you might prioritize videos, what types of videos you're putting out there. So if anyone has insights about how they've been successful with their YouTube channels, feel free to jump in.
Well, we've been putting our liturgies out there, and also our nursery director has put out some short videos for the young children in the community. And then finally, we did have a presentation, a couple of presentations so far from, which was part of our Tegeta Talk series that we have videoed and posted. So we're trying to, we didn't have a YouTube channel before COVID struck. And so now we're struggling to try and organize it a bit. We've got to find somebody who's going to be a curator for it, because at the moment the content's just being put out there, but it's not really being managed in any particular way, I don't think.
We just started our YouTube channel with when we went to live streaming Mass. On average, I don't know how successful it is compared to other parishes, but we on average have about 1,200 views per service. And really we've just been promoting it on social media, on our website. We have the My Parish app, so we send out reminders that when we're going to be taping the live stream. But it's been really well received. We've had people watching us from all over not only all over the country, but all over the world. So it's been kind of interesting to see.
So I have a question regarding the YouTube streaming. Do you guys, so I'm taking it you don't do yours unlisted? That's the only way we're doing it right now. We're just doing it unlisted and putting the link on our website. So do you have it, when you create that, you put it as public then?
I believe so. We have Doug is our IT guy that has done all the taping, and he sends me the link for the taping, and that gets put on our website. And then we've also live streamed funerals, and that's been a private. So we create the live taping link ahead of time and send that out privately to the family, and they share that with those that need it.
We've posted all our videos as unlisted except for the Tega Talk presentations, which I think are public. So
Why do you not have them just public?
At the moment, I guess we don't particularly, we haven't thought through all of the protocols and procedures, but at the moment we're sort of taking it very gingerly. So it's for internal consumption mostly. So we send out the link to the parishioners when it's ready. So
we started live streaming on our website initially, and then probably a month and a half ago we started also including live streaming on YouTube because it's so easy to do. And so we do both at the same time. And the reason a lot of people like the YouTube live stream is because they have closed captioning and they can watch it on their TV. It's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, ours are public, but we did turn off the chat function. We had some issues when we first started. Some people would jump on and post random stuff. So we've made sure to turn off all the chat functioning on it. But other than that, we haven't really had any issues with it being public.
Is there a reason to do YouTube over Vimeo? That's all that we're doing here is Vimeo, not YouTube.
I don't know a lot about Vimeo. We just chose YouTube because it's so well known, and that's just the direction we went.
We chose YouTube because people could have the app on their smart TVs and are able to watch it via the app, via the, on their phones or tablets. It was just kind of more ease of use.
Is there anything that you can do to prevent the advertising? Because sometimes the advertising can be really bad that connects to something really good.
Well, the advertising is based on each user, if I'm understanding it correctly. So what I'm seeing is different than what someone else is seeing, I thought, because, that's when analytics pop in there and you see ads or YouTube videos about things that you've been searching on or whatever. I just assumed that everyone sees their own version of that.
Yeah, that's my understanding too, Melissa. And I mean, it might be kind of weird the way those analytics work and what content they bring up, but I believe it is based on user preferences.
Right.
And we also have enough videos now where I believe when you're done watching a Mass, it populates last week's Mass or, past videos of ours, since we have so many videos now on our channel. And also we've asked parishioners to subscribe to our channel so that way it pre-populates kind of our personal content.
Right.
Also, YouTube is a giant search engine. So that's kind of the other benefit. I don't know exactly if our videos would really show up, you know, with all the other popular content out there, but that's just kind of the one thing is that people do really use it as a common search engine for things. And so just to kind of be in that platform is important.
We've also used YouTube a little bit for like introducing some of the changes that are coming or the developments within COVID. So one of our associate pastor would, you know, make a video about, hey, we're opening the church. We're having mass again in the church. And here's what you can expect when you come in. And he'd do like a 2-minute video about here's some of the new protocols and kind of walking people through what to expect coming back. And he did little videos like that kind of throughout COVID for various things. And I think people really loved that, especially during the quarantine. They couldn't be here. They couldn't connect in person with their priest. But through YouTube and through little videos, they could kind of, you know, feel him reaching out to them and hear his voice and feel the connection in that way. So I think that people really enjoyed watching those videos too. So that was one success for us.
Our faith formation department has also used it quite a bit with First Communion and confirmation, especially First Communion with the change of how they were going to receive communion from when they practiced to now. So faith formation has used it. Of course, we're in virtual VBS this last week, and so that was used extensively for that.
We also live streamed since we only allowed just the individual parents or families with the first communicants. So we posted videos for that way. If there was other family that wanted to watch their first communicants, grandparents, aunts and uncles, things like that, they were able to watch and see them receive first communion.
I was just trying to find, I can't remember what church it was. I'm pretty sure it was in Egan. They just did a new employee, new staff, like video about, I think it was their faith formation director, and it was really well done, but I can't remember what church it was. And I don't know that we have anyone here from the Egan churches today.
There's St. John Newman.
Yeah.
I think that's the only one I can think of.
Dean, do you remember seeing that? I thought it came through the APBA emails, was forwarded to me. If I find it, I'll send it out. You're muted.
That's probably for the best. I'm sorry, it doesn't come to mind right away.
All right, well, that was all of the topics we had officially. Does
Actually,
anyone else?
I sent you an email, I missed one.
Oh, sorry, okay. Let me look. Search engine optimization. Does anyone have tips on kind of building up their search engine optimization? How to get started with it, what to look at, how to evaluate how you're doing in that area, any insights on that?
I think the most effective way that I know is if you can pay someone to do it. Because it's a lot of stuff hidden on the back end of the website. And then other than that, things like connecting your Facebook accounts and your other social media accounts, and whenever you can, getting your URL cross-posted. So like if you're co-hosting an event with someone or something like that, so that there are just more sources for your name to pick up on. But I think the biggest boost comes from that back end stuff.
We were actually just talking about this. We need to really analyze our school's website. Does anyone know what the average monthly cost is to hire somebody, just as we start to get quotes from different vendors?
Let me ask my husband real quick and see if he's got something.
Is anyone doing their own right now at all? I think I would assume on like eCatholic and some of the templates, do you, on the page, are you able to just go put in some like searchable words at least? Yeah. I am, but I'm not, I have that on ours too, but I'm horrible at actually doing it, so.
Yeah, me too. I can go in and I can see what words people are using as they search on our site for different things. So yes, and I am with you. I can see it. I don't always go in and make those changes accordingly.
Do you think SEO is as important for churches as it is for businesses? I can see it for businesses, but for churches, do you think? I don't know. And also
for schools, I think.
I was going to say we're more concerned about the school.
Yeah, for
Right.
school. So SEO is a constant beast. I feel like you're always trying to figure out how you fit in, and what people search for, and all of that. I know with the school side, I paid through Niche to get better SEO and better searching through Niche, and I think it's improved our Google search a little bit too, but it's expensive. I mean, a basic is $2,500 a year. And we kind of did it as a, let's see, and I can't say that that's, I suppose if I get one student here, at least it's a tuition. So, that it helps on that end. So it's been a learning, I'm still learning. So I hope to have more to share at the end of that. They're great to work with and kind and all of that, but I think it just costs a little bit of money for that SEO. So I definitely think it's more important on the school side than the church side, in my opinion.
I wonder if that would be an interesting speaker to bring in, somebody who would be available for hire in that area, to come in and talk a little bit about what that all entails, what the cost is, what you get out of that cost, why it's important, and different things like that. I think that might be something that would be worth looking to the experts about. You can possibly think about that for a future meeting.
Megan, there's a couple of questions in the chats. Someone said, I want to know how people are communicating the fall offering for youth for faith formation, so virtual or hybrid. We are, at Pax Christi, we are doing all virtual, and I believe we're using Adobe, an Adobe online learning tool. I can't remember the product now. It's not a creative product, so I don't know. And it'll be an interactive classroom kind of thing. And that's going to be on our website behind a password protected page so that families can get at it on our website, but it's not open to the public. And we're actually creating the curriculum ourselves.
Yeah, that was my poorly worded question. What I'm really wondering is when, because right now we have some great direction for Catholic schools about communicating, and I've been on their Zoom calls like last Friday, and they sent out stuff yesterday. I'm looking at the other roughly 90% of youth in the Archdiocese that aren't in a Catholic school, and how we're communicating to them. And partially to inform, on August 13th, there's going to be a Zoom call with the APBA and ArchSPM and Jason Slattery, and hopefully you'll all be invited as well, to discuss kind of how we approach the fall. Because the communication I'm questioning is what we're going to communicate, how we're communicating it. And then the bigger thing, which I know some of you might roll your eyes at, is is everyone on the same page within the facility? So if you have I do not have a school. I was on a school board for 6 years. My kids went to Catholic school, but does your school have certain protocols? And then that same classroom is used for your youth ministry. Then maybe on the weekend it's used for your Latino ministry. Are we communicating well so that that safety protocol flows throughout all of those groups? And that's a really hard thing, because right now schools, on the Zoom call I was just on, there's 81 schools, but 46 school districts each are going to set their own hybrid in school. Do they have busing? So they're struggling with all that. I'm just trying to look at how we're communicating to the faith formation, which oftentimes comes a little later, I think. But I'm trying to get a gauge on that. I could be wrong about that little later part.
No, you're right, Dean. Yeah, I was actually thinking about what I'd seen coming from the education office, because they're actually responsible for the youth education as well in parishes.
Correct.
And they say the same thing, where our job is to educate all kids, not just the ones that go to Catholic schools. So I know they did interim guidelines. The fall ones I thought were coming still, but I'm not copied on as many. So I'm hopeful at your meeting. I know that they're coming up with fall guidelines as well. But I know it's
and Jason Slattery and I believe Emily Dada is going to be on it on August 13th. So I'll be in, and everyone, the idea of August 13th is to bring all the stakeholders together, because we have to kind of work together. But you're right, they are responsible for all. I think the school thing has been kind of a priority. I understand that, and a moving target, but we also have, it's all youth that they serve. So that's why we're kind of getting together to August 13th. Hopefully there'll be some clarity for schools, but each program, each facility is different, is the challenge. So that's where that was coming from. And you'll all be invited to the August 13th Zoom at 1 o'clock.
Have a lot of parishes determined what their model is going to look like, or sent out information about this year's faith formation programs? I know here we've kind of been waiting to see what's happening with our school before moving forward with a faith formation. I'm just wondering what other churches are kind of doing with that right now.
I think, Megan, that isn't unusual. I think that's probably the norm right now. I think that's part of what the August 13th is about. We were waiting for the governor to speak last week and see what came of that, and realizing the Archbishop collaborates with the governor and the Minnesota Department of Health and such. And on that call, and you can email me now, the Minnesota Department of Health will be on that call. So if you have a question from your faith formation or your youth minister or whoever, you can send that. We're going to get those questions answered based on what we know on August 13th, realizing the context in which we serve changes with new information. But the idea there is just to start a conversation, realizing that we will have new data informing it as we go. But yeah, I think most of them are waiting a little bit. We are going virtual to begin with at St. Joe's. We decided that as a staff and discussed it when we reviewed our COVID protocols. All staff, we discussed it last week. So that's how we're approaching it through December. Hoping it'll change, but approaching it that way, virtual to begin with.
We sent out some information last week in the bulletin saying we're working on it, it's in progress, it really our programs typically doesn't start until the first week of October, so there is a little bit of time and still some time to massage how that looks. But same, we have a school here and we use that facility for faith formation, so cross-contamination and extra services for cleaning, like all of that has to be figured in. So we know that the program is going to look different. We're just trying to figure out what that is, and we think we're going to model it more towards a family-based program for Wednesday night, to include something for whole families with then potentially monthly opportunities to get together. But that's all still being worked out. It's a moving target.
I know our team is meeting next week to discuss. I put out communication in the bulletin and on Facebook, that same kind of thing as Sarah said, that we're working on it, be patient. I think everyone understands, since we haven't heard yet what public schools are doing, that obviously there's still some time here that we need to figure out what's going on, because we have a school as well, and yeah, how we're going to work that if we need cleaning
and I think one thing to be aware of is that the challenges is that the mandate to public schools is they have to make a final decision 1 week before school would start. Hopefully they do it sooner, but that is the mandate. So if your school starts on September 8th, you're not going to know till September 1st. That really makes it hard. So you almost have to plan, you know, different scenarios. Yeah. So anyway, if you have any questions about it, send them to me, and you'll get an invitation to the Zoom on August 13th.
And
So our school has already announced that they are going to be in person with the opportunity to do virtual. And our faith formation department has been advertising for 3 weeks that you have a choice of in person or at home. And that more information is coming, but obviously we'll also be following the state and archdiocese guidelines, so things can change. But that's what they've opened registration for at this time, and then asking people what their wishes are.
Yeah, I know our discipleship faith formation department kind of followed the trend of setting the 3 different scenarios that it could be and kind of looking at what that might look like. So since our school is planning to open in the fall as well, our faith formation department is planning on having in-person classes. So they're just gonna have to determine what that looks like right now. And we haven't sent out a communication about that yet, because we need to fine tune exactly what that means and what that looks like before we get those details out. It's just interesting this year because usually we would have opened registration months ago. So I think people understand, but are also a little antsy about, oh, I haven't seen anything yet. Where is it? So it's just the times we're in. And I know that we're not unique in those challenges as the church. So. Did I miss anything else in the chat box, or does anyone have any other topics they'd like to bring up today? Otherwise, we can probably wrap up here.
So there is a couple of more comments on it. I don't know if people want to just read through these. There's lots of links. When you record, can you still see the comments? No? Is there a way we could cut and paste these and maybe put them in the Flocknote email with this recording or something?
I was just trying to do that, and then I couldn't.
Good links. Yeah.
I'm not sure. Does anyone know if we're able to somehow capture the chat?
I feel like you get a separate email with the chat notes when you get your email for your Zoom recording. Maybe?
Okay, let's
Looks
hope.
like you can select all and copy and paste it.
There should be, whoever the host is, you should have something in the chat where you can click on save chat, maybe in an arrow or 3 dots.
No, it's not there. I'm only getting the option to who I can chat with or who I will allow to chat, but I don't see anything about saving it.
You don't have anything where it says to everyone, thing that says more?
Nope.
I've been able to copy the chat to a text file, so.
Yeah, I can do that. I can just capture it all and copy and paste.
Okay.
Looks like Brianna sent a link of how to do it, maybe?
Okay.
So we can get those comments.
Okay, I tried the copy and paste and that doesn't work. So where's Brianna's? I'll find
It's the last thing in the chat.
All right.
Maybe just stay behind and take a look.
I will do that. So
If you can't get it, Melissa, I got it.
okay.
Melissa, were you gonna do a little flock note thing too?
Oh, you know what? Yeah, I just wanted to, I was playing around with it because it's, what I see is different because I'm in administrative mode. So if someone would be willing, that's not an administrator, to open up their Flock note and do a screen share, and I'll kind of walk you through how to change your notifications. Someone that's kind of familiar with, Patty, are you able to, you use Flock note, right?
I use Flock note.
Can
now,
you yeah, so open up our group in Flock note and then do a screen share.
If I can get that far. I've always had problems getting into Flock note. Because that's a separate, I don't know if I can do that. I get the emails from or through my email. Remember, that's the one that you had set me up, and I never had the password to get into it.
I have it up, Melissa, if that'd be helpful.
Okay.
I have a little noisemaker in the background, but I can pull it up if you can walk through people.
Yeah, I can. You can do a screen share. Okay. Are you able to zoom out a little? Okay. So this is actually your dash. Nicole, are you able to zoom out at all? I'm only seeing the top corner. This is the dashboard page for our Catholic Communicators group. Nicole, if you go up and show them if you click on your little body, like in the gray, yes. If you click on that, you can see your profile, and that will pop up on the right. And that's where you would change your phone number or email or name. And then if you click on, Nicole, if you click on groups over on the right, yeah, under your name and everything, the groups tab, yeah. So if you can see that, can everyone see on the right side, you can see the groups that she's in, and does everyone see the envelope and the little cell phone and the little talking bubbles?
Yes.
So if you click, you can enable or disable notifications from each of those little icons. One would be obviously email, the other one is a text message notification, and then the little bubble, if you have that enabled, so if it's blue, so Nicole's is blue, so whenever the Catholic Communicators monthly meetings is the group that all the messages typically go out of, so she's got the little bubble enabled, so that means that every time someone replies to a note, she gets a copy of that in an email. And you can see on the COVID-19 update notification group that she's in, and all this, everyone in this group is in that also. She has that one grayed out, so she does not get email notifications when people reply to those notes that go out of that group. Nicole, do you want to go over to the left and take us into the Catholic Communicators monthly meetings group? Okay. So if you click on these groups on the left that you're in, which would be the two that Nicole shows, that's the only groups we have. If you click on the monthly meetings, and this is where you could send a note to this group. So you would, to send a note, you just click on the little envelope up above. And this will pop up. You can put in a subject, and then you can format it however you want. If you want it to look like a newsletter, if you just want to send out a quick email. And then to send, you go to the bottom where it says preview, you hit preview, and then it'll give you the option to just see what it looks like, and then you'll hit send. Or you do have the option to below, you can schedule it. Right, see the bottom right green button says send, or you can schedule it to go at a different time. And everyone is a note sender, so everyone has the rights to do this. And so if you ever have questions or a topic you want to discuss with the group, this is where you could send it out to everyone. And this just allows privacy of our contact information. That's why we use it at Pax Christi, but like this group, you know, we don't mind sharing each other's email addresses, but For parishioners, we use it because our parishioners can email and contact people without knowing their email address. Does anyone have questions about Flocknote that I should cover quick before?
You can also send it out, a note out to a few people individually, which I've done a few times.
Yep.
So, you know, I mean, sometimes we share emails, but in case you don't have it, you can remove it from up here and then type in the person's name you want to email. So then I could contact Melissa directly through Flocknote.
Right.
I don't know how to even access this. Do I have an ID or an account with this?
Okay, so when you signed up, you would have received the email confirmation included. It said something like, hang on to this link to access.
Okay.
So
Okay.
if you don't have that, it is in the very, Nicole, can you click on the last, let's see, can you click on one of the monthly meetings there? Go down to right there, yeah, click on that note so you can see it. And you can see everyone on the right, you can see everyone's comments there.
Mm-hmm.
If you scroll to the bottom of this note, Nicole, there are links right there. There's a Flocknote group, there's our Facebook group, and there's our registration form.
Okay, thank you.
And that registration form link also, I try to keep the dates posted there of the upcoming meetings because we don't have an actual website, which we should probably consider doing. But for now, those are the helpful links. And I try to always have those at the bottom of the invites. So, but that's where you can access it. So maybe you just need to bookmark it if you're not a frequent flyer of Flocknote.
Yeah.
So I
Thank
just
you.
figured out too that if you click on from this screen right here, if you
I don't
click,
know what you're pointing at.
the screen that's showing right now. Whoops. From the Flocknote, there was a green circle to the left side.
Oh, I can reshare. Otherwise, Patty, if you want to share, you can.
Yep. Okay.
Patty, go ahead and share your screen.
Is it sharing?
It's coming. Yes.
Okay. So let's go back to where I was. Shoot. Sorry, guys. I'm gonna go. Okay, so here's the Flocknote that I received, and I just hit reply. This goes back to Paul's question and you know, your question before. How do I get to my actual profile? So just click on this green circle up here, and when you click on that, that'll bring me to this, because I think Melissa, you know, 2 years ago you set me up. You just added me, and so I probably wasn't smart enough back then to keep that email. But then when you look on this little person here, when I click on that, it shows up my profile. So from here, I'm sure you can go in and modify your password. I'm sure you can figure that out somewhere in here, but you can add your phone and whatnot. So
Okay.
If you
your profile within the Catholic Communicators, because I have my own within my church, so I have 2 profiles.
Okay.
If you go to the top left, left of the little blue, yeah, click on that. If you log out of Flocknote and then go to log back in, it should prompt you for the password. If you've never set up a password, you should have probably done that. I mean, I think you would have done that. So if you don't remember it, you can hit reset.
That's what we're going to do. We'll be able to get back in on our own next time. Thank you.
And then, so the notifications is where you want to check if you're not getting the email every month, or I mean, several go out every month. So if you're not getting those, you need to go check your notifications to make sure that it's enabled, or contact one of us. All right. Is there any other questions anyone wants to talk about? We're kind of at the end of our time, but.
Well, I just want to put one quick thing out for folks. So I think most of you are receiving the Archdiocesan update now. So for the first time since embarrassingly 2014, we're redesigning the newsletter. And actually it's going to be on a product called Evangelist, which I think I mentioned before. It's by the makers of My Parish app. For various reasons, we're seeing if that's going to be better for us than Flocknote, which I can go into the reasons another time. But basically, that's going to be not this next issue, but the following issue, August 20th. So let me know what you think. Oddly enough, the biggest challenge was the fact that we were using anchor text go to the different sections of the newsletter, and it's such an old technology that most email programs don't use anchor text. So basically what I decided to do was have, on our, maybe on our website we have a certain picture for each office section. I'm kind of going to use that as the icon, so it's like a pictorial thing. So we'll have the picture next to each office's content, and we'd be able to make it more visual, as well as that's going to be kind of the new way we do the menu. So we'll be very anxious for any feedback you might have from me at the September issue, and hopefully it'll be a little better. Usually it's a bit of a beast trying to get all that content in.
I'll be anxious to hear how you like Evangelist, because that's actually Diocesan, who also owns My Parish app, who also is starting to be, in October, they will be our magazine printer each month, because we've J.S. Pollock, so we're going to Diocesan, and I believe there's only one other church in the state that uses them. So far they've been really fantastic to work with, other than the 3 months that they were printing.
I'm curious too, because we use the My Parish app, and I was looking at, before COVID, we were looking at possibly switching over, because we use Constant Contact right now. So we were looking at making that switch, but then COVID happened, and just haven't had the time to really.
Yeah, stay tuned, particularly with the Synod and some of the things we're talking about there. For there's probably going to be some things the parishes could take advantage of to try it this fall. They're already offering a really good price, but kind of we used it for some notifications, and you can tell that they launched it more recently. Like they're still, like every time, there's still tiny little things that are getting worked out, but they're very inconsequential. What I'm liking the most is that it's more of a flat fee, so that you can have your social sharing, your text to join, your specific different things for each group, and it's all under one flat fee. It's not like, it just seems like it's going to scale for us much better. So yeah, I'll definitely round back, but hopefully we'll have a little more information even in the next month about things that parishes could try regarding the app and that service too.
Because I think when I calculated it, it ended up being, it would save us like $5 or $10 a month, since we're already paying for Constant Contact and paying for the My Parish app, to kind of combine and just do the one Evangelist. It in the long run would save us money.
So
I don't know if there's any benefit for the Constant Contact there.
Jen asked the question, what other email we were talking about. So Jen, we at Pax Christi, we use Flocknote, which is the same thing that we use for this group. We use Flocknote, but Diocesan, so we are moving to them for printing our magazine. And actually, I was told when I was investigating them, which feels like a year ago now, but they told me that when we contract with them to be our bulletin printer, even though it's once a month, the My Parish app is free and included. So that I will probably look at that. We had just rolled out Flocknote 2 years ago, and I feel like it took our parishioners a while to kind of get used to it, and I know they still are. So I kind of waited on doing an app, but I think we probably will eventually move to looking at that. So if you're interested in Diocesan at all, apparently it includes the app. So. All right. I think that ends it here, and I'm going to let everyone drop off, and I'm going to figure out how to grab the chat. But, and one thing actually I forgot, the committee talked about, we wanted to do a social like we did last year, but since we're kind of we are definitely social distancing, we kind of wanted to throw out the idea that we are going to plan a social on the 13th of August. I don't know how many people feel comfortable coming. We will try as hard as we can to distance ourselves, but we're looking into options of either outdoor, an outdoor seating, like a bar like last time, but outdoor, and then, or maybe a park, kind of trying to figure out what we want to do there. So we'll send out some information on that and see how many people are actually interested in doing that. But we did pick the date, August 13th. Is that it, Megan? Amanda, Brittany?
Okay. I think we got it all.
All right. All right. Well, have a nice day, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.
Bye.